In this video, we're going to be taking a long-range look into the upcoming pattern, and even the next month or two, we're going to be taking a look at the entire month of February and well, I think the entire month of March, or at least well into March. We're going to be taking a look at here. First things first, we're already taking a look at something that we don't normally take a look at, and this is the 500 millibar geopotential height. Or actually, just the 500 millibar height here. And as you can see, we see where the troughs are and where the ridges are. So we can basically see all of these types of things on this. It's really good for finding the jet stream as well. And we can see that by the time we're reaching about the 10th, 11th, 12th time frame, this is when we're going to be seeing the best chance for cold and snow basically in the near future. Here we have a low right here developed, and this is allowing for cold air to basically dam southward here on this western end of things. As when you're on the western side of a low, you're basically west of that cold front typically, and this allows for cold air to really move in. It's also going to allow for the opportunity for snowfall here in the northeast, especially. We're going to be watching for this very closely as models have been differing on their opinions on this one. By the time we're reaching about Wednesday, Thursday timeframe, though, we can see we're fully engaged in a trough in the west, ridge in the east here. So this is the look right here. And we can see that there is warm air surging northward here in the east and cold air surging southward here in the west. This is what we're dealing with. And that has been what we've been dealing with for quite a while now as well. So this is nothing new at all. This is the pattern we've been stuck in since after that cooldown around Christmas time, which feels like forever ago. Now we can see that by the time we're ending this model run, that things look like a pretty decent trough in the east here. There's a lot of cold air available here, and it seems like things are a bit warmer in the west. We're gonna watch and see if this continues this way or not. Definitely something that I'm curious about, and I've been watching for very closely in this long range, kind of the 20th and beyond time frame here in February. We're gonna watch that closely. I do want to show you guys, according to our European Ensemble model, the total precipitation, and it goes through the next 360 hours. It does appear like there's definitely going to be a lot of storms moving up through this central and eastern United States region still, and even a lot of nor'easters developing. Also, you can tell, so there is just going to be no shortage of activity in here. It just seems like every time there's cold air, there's no precipitation, and that's why there has been no snow this winter. There has been tons of precipitation, there's been times of cold, but it's never connected at the correct time. I also want to take this moment to recognize that there is uh, plenty of storminess moving in through the northwest. Nothing like what they saw before, but there certainly is activity in this area. That is definitely what is taking place. Now, as we take a look at the total snowfall on this model, we can see that there is definitely much more happening in the west, even though there's less precipitation, and there is a whole lot less here in the east, even though there's way more precipitation in this area. This is still the look that we are dealing with here. Now, let's take a look here at the temperature anomalies according to this European Ensemble model. And look, we deal with some cold. By the time we're reaching this weekend, Saturday into Sunday, it does appear like there will be plenty of cold here for pretty much the entire East for about a day or two. The warm moves back in very quickly by Tuesday the 14th here, so we can see there's a large chunk of warmth there over the eastern United States and most of Canada as well. And the only area that's cold at this point is the western United States, stuck in this cold pattern. We see this continue on until about the 19th. That's going to be a Saturday into Sunday timeframe, and we can see cold air returning out east. But look at this, we still have a negative PNA as well. So it does appear like there's going to be cold coast to coast according to this, which is extremely rare. So we're going to take this with a grain of salt. This isn't a very common pattern to see, but we are certainly seeing it here on this model, cold from coast to coast, as you can see. More in the west than the east, though, I think is worth mentioning. But we warm up after this time frame. So look at that. Warmth returning, and still this negative PNA remains. And that is the look. So this would set us up for a trough in the east, or trough in the west, ridge in the east at this point. Now, here is the European weeklies model. This is going to get us a lot further, and we're going to take a look at 7-day increments. So here's the, let's just move this forward. Here, we'll take a look at about the 10th through the 17th first, and look at this. Cold out west, negative PNA, and warm air surging in this eastern United States region here. Certainly very, very intense look. And as you take a look at about the 17th through the 24th, it looks even colder out west, extreme cold. And this would help that warm air surge in the east even more than it was before. So that is still what we're dealing with there. And as we take a look at the 24th through the 3rd of March, still colder out east. So that's the entire month of February gone right there. And we still see some signs of warm basically in most of the east here. By the time we take a look at March 3rd through March 10th, you're still colder in the east than you are in the west, or better yet, you're colder in the west than you are in the east. Yeah, wouldn't that be something if we were colder in the east than the west? We haven't seen a whole lot of that this winter, I would say. And then as we take a look at the 10th through the 17th, finally, as we reach the midpoint of March, this model shows cold finally trying to move into the east. But this is extremely far out. This is 36 to 43 days out. Certainly going to want to take that with a grain of salt and not put a lot of confidence in it. And even then, it's still showing more cold in the west than it is in the east. So, still, this isn't the most promising thing I've ever seen in my life. I want to take a look at a couple of products actually from this model. Here's the total precipitation. And I want you to note that there is a ton of precipitation happening here for the Northwest and Sierra Nevadas. Perhaps a return to a lot of these storms in the West. But look at this. We still see so much precipitation here in this eastern region of the United States that over the next, I would say, month and a half, we're seeing 6 to 8 inches of precipitation for most of these areas, even 10 for a lot of these areas here, 10 to 12. And this is highly above average for winter months heading into February and March. This is extremely far above average, I want to say. And that means a lot of storms moving through is the trend. And certainly a whole lot out west compared to what we've been seeing as of recently as well. So that is also worth noting. I want to see so midway through here, by the time we're reaching early March, a lot of this has already fallen. We just kind of continue that through the next 20 days after that, but at a more average pace, it appears. And I also want to take a look at the total snowfall according to this model. And as you can see, there's still a whole lot more out west. I'm going to urge you to take this with a grain of salt, as this has been particularly known for not being correct. Obviously, this is a 46-day snowfall forecast. But it does give you kind of an idea of which side of the country expects to see more of these snowfall events, and clearly the West is taking the prize on that one. We see a lot of snow out west, and still, I mean, this model is an ensemble model. It is showing some in these corridors here, but not a lot. And that tells me that there is a lot of these members still showing not any snowfall in here. There is certainly some members showing snowfall in these areas at some point between now, the beginning of February, and at the later point of March. This is the remainder. I want to just take a look here specifically at the eastern United States real quickly. And as we can see, uh, it does have some of these areas that have had basically no snowfall having some. So Philadelphia, DC, Baltimore, New York City, Boston has had some, but mostly these cities down here have had practically none. And it does show maybe 6 inches, maybe as high as 10 for some of these areas over the next basically month and a half. So this is by no means above average, maybe on pace with approaching average. I would say probably still below average though. As far as how much you expect to see between, the beginning of February and the end of March. But this would still be so far below average on the entire winter that it would be something. So I think it would satisfy some people, but at the same time, it would not be a lot at all. So certainly wouldn't be anything to write home about. Anyway, guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed kind of this more long-range look. Again, please take this with a grain of salt, as this is not used as a tool very often. And again, the specific amounts isn't as important as it is to see where this model is showing the most snow happening, which is clearly the west, and it still has a pretty big shortage in the east, actually. So please take it with a grain of salt. In all likelihood, it will probably be less than this because this model is probably using your climate average. As somewhat of a buffer here. And this season has been very far below climate average. So to use climate average in this in this winter would not be very helpful. And I'm sure this model has somewhat of that in it. So take it with a grain of salt. I think it's an interesting thing, but not really something we should use to be like, oh, we're going to get 6 to 10 inches of snow before the winter's over. That's not really how you can use this. I hope you understand. I'll see you guys in the next video. Please subscribe to see daily uploads. We do upload every single day. Even hit the bell icon for notifications. And like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next one.